when you saw these men, family men, role models, who were not trying to be role models, people that were just living their life, but like you say, exceptional men for the circumstance and the communities that they were, or for the exceptional men for the environment or the experiences that you had seen at that point, right? Um, what what were the specifically what were the differences that you saw between these men? I'm assuming that obviously not obviously, maybe the adulterous side wasn't as prevalent in those environments, or maybe they were, I don't know. But what specific differences did you see between your father that you were raised with and these men that made you gravitate towards them and feel like you could emulate their.
I think I think it was I think it was and that's a very good question. I think it was about let me just clear up something
Okay.
very very early, which I think needs to be cleared up.
Mm,
Some of these men
okay.
were adulterous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not chilling that. But the way I look at life is this: you can't have your cake and eat it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm,
so you can't be adulterous and loud. Yeah, you can't be adulterous and disrespecting the home base. Now that may sound weird to some people.
no, I
Yeah.
completely understand what you're saying. Like you
So
say, and
so
you're not speaking it from a
what
condoning place either.
exactly what
Hmm.
you had some men who they were doing their things outside,
Hmm.
but you see at home,
Hmm.
wife was treated like a queen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying that gives him license
Of
to
course
do
not.
what he's
Yes.
doing.
Hmm.
I'm just saying it doesn't compound the original sin.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you as a youngster,
Hmm.
you start to realize that actually one on one don't have to make three.
Hmm.
You don't
Hmm.
have to behave that way.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's a choice you're making. It's a choice you're making to be adulterous. It's
Hmm.
another choice that you're making to disrespect the home ground publicly. You don't have to do that.
Hmm.
And then, of course, you have the men who weren't doing any of that.
Hmm.
These were just stand up guys who went to work, enjoyed themselves, looked after their families, looked after their wives, and were just right. So,
Hmm.
again, you know that everything is a choice. And it's about you as a young person, as a young man, saying, what choice do I want to make?
Hmm.
And it's funny because it wasn't until I came to the UK and
Hmm.
I went to a lecture by a guy called Robin Walker.
Why do I know that name?
He wrote, he wrote a
Okay.
number of books. There's one right there called When We Ruled. Yeah, one
Okay,
of them is
that's what I
about
knew.
film
I've got that
he's
book.
written. And he gave a lecture about the expectations of a man in
Hmm.
ancient Africa.
Now we're talking.
And he talked about at the different ages what was expected of a man.
Hmm.
And he talked about, at a certain age, the expectation was that you would do your equivalent of high school.
Hmm.
At a certain age, it was an expectation that you'd be able to hunt to a certain level.
Hmm.
And at another age, you were expected to take a wife. And at another age, you were expected to have children.
Hmm.
And then you were expected to converse with the elders and eventually sit with the elders
Hmm.
and then eventually be an elder yourself.
Right.
Yeah. So when you don't know that that is possible, then you just bounce around. But because I saw examples in my community of men getting on with life, doing all the bits and pieces at different ages, different professions, different jobs,
Mm.
I was able to say, you know what? I can chart a course. But always in the back of my head, I don't want my child ever to look back at me the way my dad looks. I look back at my dad.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes so much easier. So
Okay.
I'm not even trying to claim any sort of moral superiority. Yeah, I'm not trying to claim that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that there's a level of circumstances that
Mm-hmm.
lined itself up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I hear
If,
that.
maybe if when I left at 16, I went to a different house where I didn't see a very stable family. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my cousin, because he's actually my second cousin, but we just call him cousin.
Yeah.
He was very stable, always there, looked after his family, strong family. When they wanted, they adopted a kid. That was who they were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other school friends. I have school friends, who we're still in touch now, and their parents married for 55 years.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's the sort of social circle I grew up. Of course, some were single parents. Of course, some were divorced. But in the mixed, there were a lot of 55 years marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to develop a template, and you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know what? I couldn't sit here and tell you I always was this nice, decent, well brought up man. Nah.
Yeah.
I used to work for the Jamaica telephone company. And if you ever meet someone from Jamaica, just ask them, what does that sentence mean? But you level out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
find your level, you level out,
Mm-hmm.
and you man up.
Mm-hmm.
And making sure that my son, and that remains one of my big driving forces to this day,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that my son's reflections on me would not look like my dad's became easy because it was just about doing the right thing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So when it comes to the specific things that I'll pull from what you said there were things um, like you say, not being loud. Not saying for you, but I'm just saying like these are things that you noticed that kind of almost gave you the blueprint, which was respecting your home base as you call it, um, and treating your wife the right way, and making sure that your children grow up in an environment that sees that
Yeah,
unapologetically, and it not being um, and not making that man less than the other man who is feeling like he is the be all and end all because he can do as he pleases, right? Um, I also hear that the 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 need the need your for your own self value to be in relation to your son when that occurred, but maybe it came at the same time. But the need for your self value to be almost the same as what you envisaged, or maybe through if you're the same age as their children, maybe you're having these conversations, or having some sort of understanding of the importance of a man being perceived by his children a certain way. Um, yeah, that seems very that's very interesting just to me, because I feel like you kind of alluded to that maybe if you were raised in a different social setting, for example, or you were only around your peers, or your peers didn't have those examples around, then like you say, maybe you would have fallen in line with the consensus or the accepted reality you know. Um,
It's all possible because, you know, I wouldn't be being honest with you if I didn't say to you that, look, there are lots of different facets of households in Jamaica, you know,
mhm,
like everything else.
mm,
And you find your level, you know, you find your group,
mhm,
you know. So if I look at my social circle, I look at the friends I have,
mhm,
of which most of them remain the same,
yeah,
we're all kind of very similar.
mhm,
You know, we all kind of had similar backgrounds. We all
mhm,
kind of, all our children are almost the same age. You know,
mhm,
we all kind of got married at the same time. Yeah. You find your level. One or two people will be different and do things differently, of course.
mhm,
But your social circle tends to be people who, you know, you get on with. You have similar interests, you have similar
mhm,
likes, you know.
mhm,
Um, that's a sort of background. You come from similar backgrounds. Yeah, you have a similar moral lookout. And again, I stress, it doesn't mean you don't break out. A one man don't break out and do something different.
yeah,
It just means that it is something different.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know,
There's a common
it
thread
just is.
running through.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
something different. But you know, there's no great difference
Mhm,
in the sort of social background. So if you go to certain parts of Jamaica, certain parts of any country, you'll find a class of people for whom, you know, life is very different.
right.
I was privileged. You know, I grew up in a massive house. We weren't rich, but we were all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Never knew what hungry was.
mhm,
Yeah. Never had the electricity cut off.
yeah.
Never had water cut off.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I never experienced those things. You know,
Mhm,
so that's my experience. But if you're a kid who's growing up in a neighborhood where every single woman in the neighborhood has no man, has 10 kids, it's very easy for that to be the norm for you.
definitely.
It's very easy for you to start to think, well, or even someone say to you, how come you don't have any kids yet? Just like
Mhm,
my cousins asked me,
yeah.
you know, and you know, you're 15, you're running road, and somebody said, you know, what to your brethren? Are you fire blank?
Mhm, yeah.
And you know, that becomes a peer pressure situation. The girls are under similar peer pressure,
Mhm,
you know. It just is what it is. You know, we were going to school with 15-year-old girls who wore ribbons in their hair.
yeah.
You know, can you imagine that now?
Yeah, I hear you.
A 15-year-old kid now with ribbons in her hair.
Them long socks with the little ribbon around the top of it and all them
You know
things
what
there.
I mean? So it's
Yeah.
and you know, again, this is the context under which, and again, I stress, I didn't forgive my father, but I began to understand
Mhm.
because we are products of our environment.
Yeah. In
Yeah,
in
and
a, in
it's
so many
so
ways.
easy for me to sit
Mm.
here and mouth off and say, what, you had children before you were married,
Yeah.
but that's my reality.
Mhm,
Yeah, and that's my paradigm.
mhm,
Yeah, that is
mhm,
not a universal paradigm. And it wasn't until I started to accept that
mhm.
about my father that I
Yeah.
was able to just start to understand why he was the way he was.
Mhm. Yeah. Interesting. Just 'cause I don't wanna kind of run out of time without touching on you as a father. All
Yeah,
right. Because as I said, that book was differently powerful to me. Not only was it, let's take, even if you took the fact that you're a black man out of it, even if we just look at it as what the information contained within there. For I might have mentioned it to you before, but I did. The first thing was just like, okay, um, this information gives a blueprint of what it is to be a father in my eyes, and it almost articulated it helped me, no, it helped me articulate in my mind the what what I missed without knowing what I missed, if that makes sense. Because those are the things that you don't pick up from observing somebody else's relationship with their father. Those are the things that happen in those quiet moments when I suppose a father and son are talking, and those moments that those private interactions, right? And it definitely opened up a part of my, I don't know, psyche, my thought, whatever, my brain, whatever, to now ask myself those questions of what, because it couldn't have been as simple as what the premise of the book is. What lessons do I want to teach my son? Because I just didn't know, and it was something that I definitely ran through my mind and thought about. So when I've read your book and I'm thinking about, okay, now I've kind of almost, now I know the questions to ask myself. Because yes, I'm going to use a lot of the lessons that you said in your book, but there's also going to be things where two different people had two different experiences of life, and there are going to be personal lessons that I would want to share that now I have a way of discovering within myself, you know? So just from the conversation that we've had, I kind of deduced or whatever that you got married and then you had your children, right?
Yeah.
Right. So um, when you when you found out that you were going to be a father, at that moment, was there was there a sense of apprehension? Was there any sense of you worrying about repeating mistakes of the past at this point, or was it just a purely a sense of you feeling ready and almost wanting to just get started?
If I'm going to be honest with you,
Please.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a reason why I don't remember,
Right.
because my wife at the time actually had a miscarriage before my son was born,
Right.
and what we did was mentally kind of just say, maybe you wanted this too much, so just hold it down.
Okay. Yeah.
If it happens, it happens.
Hmm.
And she carried the first child to 26 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we were all in that very excited,
Yeah.
all going well, everything's running. And we had to calm down for now. It was a very hard calm down.
Must.
So when she was pregnant the second time, we kind of just held it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I think that's why I don't really remember any massive emotion about it.
Yeah.
Very matter of fact. All
Uh-huh.
right, fine. We're gonna see if we can get to 27 weeks this time.
Yeah.
I'll work your way through. What I do remember
Okay.
is the moment he was born.
Right.
Yeah. So all of the questions you just asked me then,
Mm-hmm.
I can remember distinctly going through every single one of them, because it was an emergency C-section.
Right.
I wasn't allowed in the room, not to say I would have gone, but
Mm-hmm.
let's pretend I would have. And the doctor came out and said, you have a son. And I went from absolute elation of, yeah, great, wonderful, isn't this great,
Mm-hmm.
to panic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm 26, 27. No, that's not true. My son was born 7 years after I was married. Yeah, so I was 32. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolute panic. What on earth am I gonna do?
Right.
Yeah, financially we were ready,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a moment of realization of the huge responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the main thing. That
Yeah.
sudden realization of the responsibility. And you may be too young to remember this,
Okay.
but at the time there was a lady on TV. I think it's Ann Diamond, I think her name was. I don't remember. But she had lost a child to cot death.
Okay.
And cot deaths were all the topic. That was all everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
I rang my mom in Jamaica.
Mm.
And I said, boy, mommy, in Barn,
Yeah.
what do I do? How does he sleep? Does he sleep on his back or his tummy? I don't know.
Yeah.
My wife, it was her first child as well. He
Mm.
was the first grandchild on both sides.
Oh wow.
So we have nobody knows nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's big people. So there's no children on either side left. All
Mm.
30s. And it's just that feeling of responsibility.
Mm.
I stopped driving fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a magical thing. I stopped driving fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're thinking about what you have in the back of the car.
Oh, of course.
Your whole dynamic. Well, for me, certainly,
Mm-hmm.
and what I've seen with my friends, and again, I talk about that similarity of
Mm-hmm.
the circle, is that whole change in you are responsible for this child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I would say blind panic
Yeah. Yeah.
would be the
Yeah.
word.
That's
You
that's fair, and I think that's
you would never believe we had 9 months to prepare.
see it there. Yeah.
Total.
Yeah. 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 Okay. All right. So okay. So then obviously you managed to get through that initial stage, and you managed to kind of get to the the nuts and bolts and go and work out how everything works and routines and all of these things. Um, and then in my mind anyway, because obviously I haven't got any children as of yet, but in my mind, then it comes to a point where maybe they're a bit more aware of the world and maybe can speak and maybe you're having conversations, or I'm presuming that's is that moment a time of evolution of your role.
Yeah. So, you know, we always talk about not being a friend to your children.
Mm.
And I had a conversation with myself
Hmm.
about how I wanted my son to see me, how I wanted him to
Interesting.
relate to me. And for me,
Hmm.
as far as I was concerned, it was important that he saw me as his dad,
Okay.
not his friend,
Hmm.
not his uncle, not his brother, not his cousin, but his dad. And for me, that word carries some weight.
Okay.
So I I look at the word dad to mean someone who is responsible for you.
Right.
Yeah. I am responsible for you. I brought you here. I'm responsible for you. So very early, because I'm a simple guy, I worked out in my head a contract between me and my
Okay.
son, which is you do the right thing and I will do what I'm supposed to do within the
Okay.
contract. So I will always send you to school. I will always give you the best that I can afford, as long as you're behaving right, you're listening to what I'm saying, you're in school, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's the contract. And that sort of spanned everything we did. Yeah.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say I was hard,
Mm-hmm.
but to be fair to his mom as well, we both took a decision that, maybe out of laziness, the more disciplined he was, the easier parenting would be for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the driving logic.
Right.
If we helped him to maintain discipline from a very early age,
Mm-hmm.
it would be an easier parenting road for us. And to be fair, it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what that meant was we didn't go through the Google gaga gaga aren't you cute phase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was talking to him like I'm talking to you from day
Yeah.
one.
I agree. I agree with that.
And people would say, "Oh, but Paul, he can't understand you." I say, "You're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He may not understand the words, but he'll understand my tone."
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. And so as he got older and he began to talk,
Mm-hmm.
it was very important for us to let him talk.
Yes.
Yeah. Let him talk. Sit down, have conversations with him. There's, I don't know which lesson it is in that book,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that in that book is about talking to your children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know there's a point in there about making sure that you have a dinner table where you can put your children to sit down and let them feel comfortable, that it's an open forum where everybody's voice can be heard.
But
Respectfully, but everybody's voice can be heard. And my son never felt that he couldn't talk. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And those are the sort of things, the house, people were saying, "Oh, aren't you going to take up your speakers?" I said, "No, it's my child.
Mm-hmm.
If he mashes it up, who else is supposed to?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The video, because we used to have video. Video? The
Of
video is,
course.
you used to have
Of
video
course.
in those days. You push your finger in.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, you got to take it up or he's going to put this in it." I said, "Well, no, he's not." Because we didn't just let him run the house. When he walked over to the video, which he did, we went with him.
Mm-hmm.
"This is a video, son. You don't put that in there."
Mm-hmm.
And you keep doing that. And you keep doing that until he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing he ever did, I had some lovely mission speakers, lovely ceramic mission speakers,
Mm-hmm.
and I push him finger through them. And it was painful.
Must. Yeah.
It was painful.
Mm-hmm.
Those were back in the days before you had Sonos and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some lovely mission speakers.
Some top of the line stuff.
Yeah. Ceramic, just lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And I came home and the boy pushing finger through them.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you going to do? Your child.
Yeah.
It's your child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted would be for him to feel like a prisoner in his house. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So you have to roll. You have to roll with the punches when it comes to children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You set up your lines. You set up your default lines, and you have to be honest and trustworthy and truthful, because they will catch you out, and they'll catch you out in one of two ways. Either they'll catch you out and say, "Daddy, but you did so and so," or worse, they won't say it.
Okay.
They'll keep it in their heads.
Yeah.
It's actually better if they say it out. But if they keep it in their heads, it becomes, "Daddy's a hypocrite. Mommy's a hypocrite."
That's very interesting, just because what you said about kind of that wanting your child to be able to speak to you, to feel like they have the scope to voice their opinion, goes hand in hand with that, because it might not necessarily be that the child is thinking, I'm going to hold this information myself, not even necessarily to use at a later date, but just because this is my information to hold. It might just be that they don't know how to approach this conversation with this person that is so unapproachable, and it, as you say, it then festers, and it then is viewed through the filter of this young inexperienced mind, um, and like you say, characterizes this parent, this father, as a hypocrite, as careless, as angry, all of these things. So yeah, that's definitely something that's interesting to me. That kind of that definitely speaks to, I think, my upbringing, in the sense that there was never that kind of, as you can probably tell, I'm a chatterbox. I'm somebody that loves to debate and talk, and like my friend always says to me, like even if you don't disagree with what I'm saying, you'll play your talk as the other position just to have a debate and just to go back and forth and just to explore. So, but that was never something that I could explore necessarily in my house. So
Well, you see,
if there were,
that's
yeah,
that's the key. That's the key thing. So, even as I was sitting here and you were talking, I was thinking about it. That is definitely a throwback to my relationship with my dad.
okay,
Could not talk to the man.
right,
Yeah, I'm just sitting here now thinking that probably subconsciously, that's why that was such an important thing to you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I never really thought about it till just a second ago.
mhm,
That's probably why it was so important to me, because I cannot remember having anything but lightweight conversations with my dad.
mhm,
Yeah, never had anything near the depth or anything. But again, he wasn't that type of guy.
mhm,